Frontier has a terrible reputation. They're an ultra low-cost carrier, they'll hit you with fees left, right, and center. The experience on board is chaotic, and after flying them, I understand this. But for their business, this poor reputation doesn't really matter. They're focused on a whole other metric. At least they were. Let's go and try Frontier, unpack this whole ultra low cost business model, and discover why these airlines didn't really care what you thought of them up until very recently. Welcome back to another video. We're flying Frontier today. I guess I'm expecting them to be pretty bad. Expectations are low. We're just gonna have to see, I guess. We're at San Jose Airport, practically Silicon Valley. For those of us that aren't well acquainted with the San Francisco region, here it is. You've got San Francisco up here, and then down the peninsula, you've got San Jose. This is the Silicon Valley we have all heard of. This is where you've got Apple, Google, Facebook, Netflix, Intel, and well, the famous Denny's that the world's largest company by market cap, Nvidia, was started in, all within a few miles of each other. For the nerdy tech bro in me, this is practically Mecca. Got about 20 minutes until boarding starts. There's a Chick-fil-A just over there, so I'm gonna go get some Chick-fil-A. I haven't eaten breakfast, so. All right. Thankfully, it took like 4 minutes. These are quite good. Frontier is an ultra low cost carrier. They weren't always, but they are now. We'll get into how that happened shortly, but I want to start with this boarding process. I paid for extra carry-on. I had a suitcase and a backpack, and I had no troubles getting on board. But many people in this queue hadn't paid extra for baggage, and so they were being stopped and forced to pay extra carry-on baggage fees. I have no real problem with this. You probably should have paid the fee in the first place, but I did find the Frontier gate agents to be some of the most aggressive of any of the low-cost carriers that I've personally flown. And well, there's a reason why. The gate agents earn a commission on the extra baggage fees that they're able to extract from passengers, and this is one of those things that never really crossed my mind until today. This caused some controversy in 2023, with passengers claiming that they were getting charged fees for bags that clearly fit into the Frontier bag sizer, and that they were essentially being held hostage, being forced to pay the fees in order to board their flights. Frontier took these claims seriously, but overall defends their decision to incentivize gate agents to police bag compliance. Frontier isn't alone in these practices. It's reported that this also occurs at Spirit Airlines and EasyJet in the UK, but in those cases, the agents are only getting $5 or £1 per bag. Frontier really pushes this program, reportedly giving gate agents a $10 commission per bag, and this can really add up when they're only making $15 an hour. As we will see shortly, this practice embodies the whole vibe of flying Frontier. It's hostile. Seems like every 10th person isn't sitting in their assigned seat. Didn't know that was a hard thing to do. But otherwise, these seats are literally prison seats. That's how I would describe them. There is no padding going on. They look kind of padded, but they're not. Leg room's are actually not awful, but I guess if you come into it expecting this, then yeah, so far, for me personally, it's been a okay experience. Flight attendant just cussed someone out. I mean, fair enough. Why can't people sit in their seats? But I really didn't expect it to get off to this sort of start this quickly.
Caution when opening the overhead bins.
All around, probably one of the best things I've had on a plane in a long time. We've now had 2 people get up while the seatbelt sign's still on, and they've had to yell at them over the speakers. This plane is literally a zoo. I want to make a point about these seats quickly. They are absolutely terrible. No, so the point that I was going to make about these seats is they are so bare bones. They are so hard, just metal. How much money are they actually saving here? Because every other low-cost carrier that I've flown, AirAsia, Jetstar, EasyJet, How could I possibly forget Vietjet? Not only was this video quite fun to make, and it did fairly well, it's also given me a party trick. If you search for Vietjet Air on Google Images, for some crazy algorithmic reason, I show up as the 3rd image. Anyway, back to budget airlines and these rock hard seats. I've flown not all of them, but I've flown quite a few of them. They've all got normal seats, and I'm pretty sure the cost of these seats is in the thousands, not tens of thousands, and they're going to last thousands of flights. So once you amortize it over the cost of every single flight, they're probably saving 50 cents a flight, maybe 20 cents a flight. Actually, let's do the seat maths, because I'm curious and I like giving future Simon some work to do, so let's get into that now. Now, past Simon was a little naive there. Instead of looking at this as how much extra it costs, let's instead flip this on its head and look at how much they're saving. First, let's establish the primary metric that matters here, the cost per available seat kilometer. It kind of describes itself, but this is the airline's total cost or expense per seat on the plane per kilometer. And this involves everything: the snacks you get on board, if they're giving you free checked baggage, how much they are or aren't paying flight attendants, plane maintenance, etc. For ultra low cost carriers like Frontier, where their primary competitive advantage is price, driving down this cost per available seat kilometer is the most important thing. Seats are a massive part of this equation, but the headline purchase price of those seats, it's a relatively small factor in all of this. So let's compare a couple of seat models here to get a concrete understanding of the numbers. Frontier, on their newer jets, uses the Recaro SL3710, a cutting-edge seat design, not in comfort or tech, but in weight and maintenance. It weighs just 8 kilograms and has a fixed back. It's got no reclining mechanism. This not only saves weight, but it also removes a point of failure that can lead to increased maintenance costs over time. Seat prices aren't publicly available, but from what I can find online, these probably cost around $4,000 each. Delta, on at least some of their 737s, uses the Collins Aerospace Pinnacle. This is a much more comfortable seat design. It reclines, it has padding, and it's configurable with options like adjustable headrests, power outlets, and screens. It weighs, on the low end, without fitting all of those optional extras, about 13 kilograms. Again, prices for these things aren't really public, but from what I can find, I'm gonna estimate a price of $8,000. So right off the bat, just on price alone, if we're putting 186 economy seats into an A320neo, Frontier is spending around $750,000, whilst Delta is spending more like $1.5 million. Over a fleet of 100 planes, this is a $75 million cost saving. That's not nothing, but that's only really the beginning. Let's talk weight savings. A lighter cabin equals a lighter jet, but how does this actually affect the numbers? Well, I'm gonna make some assumptions here. You can argue about them in the comments, but I think I'm playing in the right ballpark. Firstly, let's say these Frontier seats are 5 kilograms lighter than the more comfortable Delta seats. For an A320neo, 186 seats, this equals almost a ton of weight savings. The general rule of thumb with planes is that a 1% cut in weight equates to a 0.75% reduction in fuel use. 1 ton is roughly 2% of an A320neo's weight, so we'll get about a 1.5% reduction in fuel used. An A320neo, flying for 3,000 hours a year, will burn about 5.9 million kilograms of fuel. This is a pretty ridiculous figure when you think about it, but a 1.5% reduction here is 93,000 kilograms of fuel saved annually. So what's the cost saving here? Well, last week, jet fuel globally cost about 73 cents per kilogram. So these lighter seats lead to just under $68,000 of fuel savings a year per plane. Frontier has 163 planes, so this comes out to just over $11 million a year in total savings. For an airline doing $3.8 billion in revenue a year, this isn't a huge cost, but it does allow them to have a structurally lower cost per available seat kilometer or mile when compared to the legacy and, well, more comfortable airlines. And for an airline that competes almost solely on price, this is all that matters. Or does it? Oh boy, that's a whole other kettle of fish that we'll touch on shortly. In the rear lav now, it's gross. It smells. I like that they've got the yellow trash sign. That tells you that people definitely didn't know where the trash was, or that was definitely a problem in the past, and so they've had to really make it clear. Yeah, not clean at all. I'm trying to think of some positive notes, but there isn't. It smells really bad in here. Oh, okay, no. The flight attendant held the door open for me because they were emptying a bunch of leftover, I think it was all the melted ice. They were emptying it into the sink, and so I had to wait a minute, and then he held the door open for me and closed it for me. So he didn't smile at me. I said thanks, and I was being friendly to him and blank. I guess more generally, the cabin crew on this flight, the flight attendants, have been blunt. They don't really want to be here, maybe, is the way to describe it.
which fair enough, because it is a zoo. People aren't treating them with a whole lot of respect, and they don't treat the people with a whole lot of respect. So I'm not sure how you fix this chicken and egg problem, but we're landing soon in Denver. Got some stuff about Denver Airport. It's a pretty interesting one. They've also just decided to make it completely pitch black in here for some reason. Like every light is off. Not sure what the logic is there. We've still got half an hour to go.
Denver Airport. I had a 2-hour layover here. Pretty normal stuff, right? No. Of course not. Here's the thing with this place. It's home to a super conspiracy. It's not just an airport, it's a center for the New World Order. Underneath this place lies a network of secret tunnels and bunkers that are and will be used by the government and the billionaires for both alien research and a refuge for when the apocalypse eventually occurs. This all sounds a bit crazy, right? Why Denver Airport, out of all places? Well, these theories don't just appear out of thin air, so let's quickly run through how all of these came to be. It all goes back to when this thing was built. The idea for a new Denver airport came about in 1980 as a replacement for the old Stapleton Airport, which had become overcrowded and lacked the ability to expand due to its proximity to nearby neighborhoods. After a contentious planning process, which included the annexing of 54 square miles of land from a neighboring county, construction began in 1989. The first big conspiratorial red flag was the scale of this project. It's huge. This is the largest airport by land area in the US and second largest globally. It's almost twice the size of Manhattan, or the same size as San Francisco. But it's not just the size, it was also delayed by 16 months and ended up costing $4.9 billion, $2 billion over budget. This was clearly not just a case of mismanagement, right? Surely they're up to some clandestine construction that was all just being hidden from the public. To add further fuel to this fire, Denver was built with this huge network of underground tunnels, all to facilitate a state-of-the-art automated baggage system. This system, rather embarrassingly, didn't work. During a media demonstration in May of 1994, it was shown flinging bags around and tossing clothes everywhere. It was used to some degree by United when the airport officially opened, but was later abandoned in 2005. That sure is a brilliant ruse, isn't it? The perfect cover story to build an extensive network of underground tunnels. So that's what's going on below ground. But above ground, the Denver airport planners really didn't do themselves any favors in the conspiracy department. A time capsule that's going to be opened in 2094 was installed into the main terminal building during the opening ceremony. This just happens to bear the symbol of the Freemasons and an inscription crediting a group called the New World Airport Commission. That sure does sound a lot like the New World Order, doesn't it? In reality, this was just a local commission that helped organize the opening of the airport, but they're not helping themselves. It doesn't just stop there though. The art is also another major red conspiratorial flag. Murals by artist Leo Tanguma further lean into this whole New World Order angle. The most prominent of those murals depicts a soldier wearing a gas mask, wielding a sword in front of grieving children. This is believed to be an illustration of the future, once we're all controlled by the New World Order. There are, of course, many more red flags. There's Blucifer, the demonic horse out the front that killed its own creator. There's the runways. But we'll leave it there. In reality, Denver is probably just a mega airport with some weird art and a failed baggage system. Mismanagement and airport projects go hand in hand. But look, if you want to believe, then don't let me yuck your yum. That first flight to Denver was on one of Frontier's older A320s, but this second flight to Chicago is on one of their super high density new A321neos. This has the Recaro SL 3710s we touched on earlier, but more importantly, it's also configured with 240 seats. This is pretty ludicrous if you ask me. The second you walk through this back door, the seats are just right there. The A321neo can technically seat up to 244 people, but as far as I can tell, no airline has actually outfitted those extra 4 seats. Instead, 240 seems to be the standard ultra high density configuration. But this leads us into our final point here, the business model of ultra low cost carriers. I guess first, let's define our terms. We've got full service carriers. They include carry-ons, checked bags, food, drinks, everything. Then you've got low cost carriers. These airlines focus on keeping operating costs low, but to some extent still offer basic amenities. You can generally take a free carry-on, sometimes even a checked bag. They might give you a free drink, at least a cup of water, but you'll have to pay for everything else. And then we have ultra low cost carriers. They essentially just sell you tickets that covers your transport from point A to B, but everything else is an add-on. I would say the line between ultra low cost carriers and low cost carriers is somewhat blurry, but I think the big differentiator is if they charge for carry-on bags. If they do, they're probably an ultra low cost carrier. In terms of the business, ultra low cost carriers are often generating a substantial portion of their revenue and sometimes all of their profit from selling these add-ons. Low cost carriers are a cheaper way to fly. Ultra low cost carriers are the absolute cheapest way to fly. They're only competing on price. Frontier is an ultra low cost carrier, but they haven't always been, and well, they might not always be.
It was just a phase.
There's actually kind of two Frontiers, the OG from the 50s and the Frontier we know today. We'll skip a lot of the fine details here, but the 50s version was a solid regional carrier based in Denver. They were created and grew under the regulated aviation era in the US, but right around when deregulation hit, they struggled and were eventually sold off to People Express in 1985. The modern day Frontier started flying almost a decade later in 1994, again from Denver, and whilst it was a completely new airline on paper, around 3/4 of their 180 employees had worked for the original Frontier, and so they claim a certain continuation of the original brand. This Frontier 2.0 was a low-cost carrier, but it was by no means an ultra-low-cost carrier. Its strategy wasn't to be the absolute cheapest option, but instead provide affordable fares on underserved routes. Despite its growth and popular branding, the airline faced severe financial headwinds in April of 2008, leading them to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The filing was not triggered by operational failures, but by an external shock. Its credit card processing company, facing the strain of the GFC, demanded a sudden increase in cash collateral that the airline could not provide. They weren't in bankruptcy due to a fundamentally flawed business, just their credit card processor holding them hostage. But this bankruptcy led to another twist. Republic Airways, who Frontier had partnered with only a year prior to offer regional air services, put in a bid for the airline. This sparked a bidding war with Southwest, who attempted to acquire Frontier. Republic ultimately won out, acquiring all of the Frontier assets out of bankruptcy for $108 million. Republic is an interesting carrier in and of itself. Their core business is not in operating a customer-facing airline. Instead, they fly regional jets on a contract basis for larger airlines. About half of their services operate on behalf of American Eagle, American Airlines, with almost all of the rest being for United and Delta. This meant that the Frontier branded airline operation was outside of Republic's core business model. Now, I'm not 100% sure why, but this is when the shift started towards Frontier being an ultra low-cost carrier. If I was to guess, I would say that Republic is almost always competing for contracts on a price basis. This meant that when it came to running a customer-facing airline, hey, why not do the same thing? Always try to offer the lowest prices. Either way, this strategy shift was turbocharged in 2013 when Frontier was sold off to Indigo Partners. Indigo Partners, and there's no relation to Indigo in India here, by the way, is a private equity firm that has stakes in ultra low-cost carriers globally. Most prominently, they have controlling stakes in Frontier and Wizz Air in Hungary. And the whole firm was founded by this guy, Bill Frank. Now, I want to draw a comparison here between Frank and David Neeleman. I did a video a few weeks back on David Neeleman. He founded JetBlue, Azul, Breeze, etc. Both of these guys have grown huge low-cost carriers, but Neeleman, throughout all of his airlines, emphasizes the need to be nice. As in, the customer may be paying low fares, but they may as well have a pleasant travel experience. It doesn't cost any more for the flight attendants to be friendly, and this will inevitably translate into better brand value. For Bill Frank and Indigo Partners, I don't think they care about this at all. They are gunning for the ultra low cost market, and it appears from the outside that they truly only care about driving down costs and competing exclusively on price. It doesn't matter if you have a pleasant experience on board, because guess what? You'll quickly forget how terrible it was, and you'll book Frontier again because they'll be the cheapest option. Well, at least that's the theory, and it did work for a decade. Frontier has grown into a fairly large carrier. They transported over 30 million people in 2023. But things are changing. Not only is the low-cost carrier space more competitive than ever, the big three, United, Delta, and American Airlines, all started to offer basic economy fares. Bare bones tickets that offered no seat assignments and no checked bags in an attempt to swallow up some of the demand for ultra low-cost travel. I think United's CEO Scott Kirby put it best when he described the ultra low-cost business model as fundamentally flawed.
It's dead.
It's a crappy model, sorry. And like the line I've used is like, their problem is they got big enough that they needed repeat customers. They don't get them.
He's clearly talking his own book here. I mean, he runs United, but I think he does have a point. Ultra low cost fares, charging for everything, isn't inherently a bad business model. In fact, it can be a great way to get more people flying. The thing is though, people are probably starting to realize that once you add in the basics, like a carry-on, the price of that ultra low cost ticket isn't so ultra low cost anymore. But even more than that, the baggage policing with gate agents earning a commission on every bag that they catch leads to a hostile environment. It's almost the inverse of the David Neilman Be Nice model. It's basically the customer is the enemy model. Everybody that gets hit with that $99 bag charge at the gate is pretty much guaranteed to never fly Frontier again. They have to some degree realized this, and in late 2024, they announced a strategic pivot towards a hybrid business model in an attempt to appeal to a broader base of customers. The key components to this pivot include introducing premium cabins, starting with extra legroom upfront plus seating, and a true business/US first class seat that'll start to be installed on planes in late 2025. They also changed their fare bundling to include options that do include carry-on bags. Their loyalty program has also been overhauled to offer more perks for elite members, and this makes it more like the traditional programs from the legacy carriers. They're not outright abandoning the ultra low cost model, but instead evolving into a form that customers will not only try once for the price, but instead are willing to fly again and again. Will this pivot work? We'll just have to wait and see. Personally, I would fly them again. They were by far the cheapest option for my travels, and well, if you pay the extra fees and sit in your assigned seat, you might also just get the free added bonus of getting to watch a yelling match. This might make some people uncomfortable, but after hundreds of hours of civil and orderly flying, I just found this entertaining. Quickly, just at the end here, let's go all the way back to San Francisco, the start of this day. This has got nothing to do with planes, but I still thought it was cool. I'm in San Francisco for 20 hours. I have absolutely no reason to catch a Waymo. I've got nowhere to go, but I have to do it. It's a self-driving car. I have to go try it, right? So I'm just gonna go walk like 3 kilometers away from my hotel and then get a Waymo back. Let's go do it. Apart from that and the rampant crime, drug problems, homelessness, San Francisco is a ridiculously pretty place. I think that's the top of this hill. And now we go straight back down. Also, I've decided the end location is going to be the tallest tree in San Francisco. It's pretty big. It's like 4 kilometers away too, so getting my steps in. It should be right here. Like just right around this corner. I think that's it. It's pretty big. I don't know why I walked 4 kilometers for this. Yeah, it's big. All right. So I booked the Waymo. The Waymo should be here in 1 minute, and it cost $3 more than Uber. So I'm not sure how those promised self-driving car cost savings are going to actually materialize, but cool. Well, it's gone right past me. In we get.
Hey there, Simon.
Whoa. I guess we hit go. And off we go.
Waymo, futuristic, but the need to buckle up is the same as always. So keep your seatbelt fastened, please. Report
Is it stuck?
at any time. In the
It was this woman. This woman was blocking the car. It feels like quite a confident driver, to be fair. Well, this is just absurd. Oh, there's another one. You know what? It was absurd for the first 60 seconds, and now it's just like I'm being driven around. I think people will get very used to these very quickly because, like, I'm already just trusting it. Obviously, touch wood. There's no wood in this car, but anyway, my head. Anyway, touch wood. Is that it? Well, we're done.
You're here. Please make sure it's clear before exiting.
All right. Goodbye, Waymo. And off she goes. I hope you all enjoyed that video. I hope you got something out of it. Make sure you go and follow me on Instagram here. Also, LinkedIn. I think it's a funny, ironic social network, so go follow me there too. The Flight Formula website is literally just flightformula.com. Go check it out. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Simon? Is that Simon?
What's Simon?